Well, welcome. This is Michael Finch with the David Horace Freedom Center. We're here with the Glazov gang, and I am sitting in for Jamie Glazov, who is traveling this week. Big shoes to fill, but I'll do my best. There's two, I promised Jamie I would do this, but I said there's two things. I'm not going to ask anyone the rules, so we're not going to discuss the rules.
Good
so
one.
that's number one. But we're really blessed tonight. We've got three wonderful guests. You're all veterans, and I mean that in a good way. You've been here before, so you're going to carry the show for me. And if Jamie was here right now, I know he would say it's all about the guest, not the host. Okay, and I can say that with a straight face. I'm going to start with Brittany, world-renowned actress, great columnist with Town Hall, great defender of freedom, and we're really happy. Thank you for coming back, Morgan.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Also, Dwight Schultz, another actor. People out there in the rest of the country will think that Hollywood is completely turned. It hasn't, but we're trying. We are trying to make that a goal. But Dwight Schultz, who's a wonderful friend and has been doing some great work on behalf of all freedom-loving people. And thank you for coming, Dwight.
Thank you.
And then Tiffany Gabbay, who is new with the David Horace Freedom Center. You've been on the show a few times, so thank you for coming, Tiffany. And thank you to all of you. We have a lot to discuss.
I don't even know where you're going to begin.
I
really don't.
I don't know. The other thing I was going to say is I will not call you all Titans.
Okay.
I mean, you are Titans,
Yes, thank
which
you.
leads to a trivia question. This is going to be a tough one. There's an NFL football team that started out as the Titans. Think about that through the evening. If you get a prize if you get that one correct. Tiffany's thinking. I could ask another trivia question. I could say, name the Gulf of water that Jacksonville, Savannah, and Charleston sit on. If you remember from President Obama's.
Gosh,
So if you can think, now, we may ponder that for a while, but I really want to know if the name of that Gulf.
He affects everything, doesn't he? Really?
It's amazing. He's an amazing mind. That Gulf sits in the 57th state.
Yes.
And the 57th state, that's right.
We have to talk about Egypt. That was probably going to be the lead anyway, but after the crackdown today, a few things just, and then I want to open this up. The description of the Brotherhood sitting like with grandpas in the park because they're sit-ins. These are like 1960s. I love the phrase sit-ins. No mention that these are very armed and dangerous terrorists. These are jihadis. They are armed and they're willing to fight. These are not peaceniks in the park with tie-dye T-shirts, smoking pot, then being shot at by the National Guard. But it's interesting how that is the media is portraying this.
Yeah.
Morgan, I want to start with you. Your impressions of today, and are we ever going to get any decent media coverage of what is really going on there? Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Are there good guys?
The only thing I got out of today's coverage was the fact that John Kerry seemed to be on the side of the Muslim Brotherhood. They're apologizing once again. They don't seem to have a plan. They don't know what they're doing. There's chaos going on, and Barack Obama is in Martha's Vineyard golfing. So I'm looking at this whole situation. The entire Middle East is on fire. It's ridiculous what they're doing to the Coptic Christians over there. I mean, it's a massacre, and no one seems to care. No one seems to care. What are we going to do? Continue to funnel money to them? Continue? They won't even call it a coup. So what are we going to do? I don't even have an answer for you. I don't even know.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know what's actually happening.
It would.
But we're not going to get.
It would.
Dwight, what's your impressions? Not just of today, but what's been. I mean, you mentioned earlier off the set that none of this is a surprise.
No, none of this is a surprise, and it's. We're talking. There is no media. There is no coverage whatsoever. There's no analytic mind in any of these organizations that call themselves news organizations. There's simply none. The Muslim Brotherhood is existentially our enemy. They have stated they wish to destroy the United States from within. They want to establish a caliphate. And Barack Obama, when he became president, allied himself with those who wish to destroy us. And he immediately disarmed all of our allies around the world, and instead made put out his tendrils and made connections with those who are formed in blood and who want us dead. And Israel dead. That's it. And the media, all of a sudden, when all of this people, it was the Arab Spring.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, it was spring. It was the flowers blooming. When it's nothing but blood, 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 and more blood. And that's all that can come from this. And our president, because there is no analysis, except by Republicans, not even by Republicans, but by conservatives, nobody, because they're all afraid of being called racists, could stand up and point out that they are our existential enemy. And of course, into the government comes members of the Muslim Brotherhood who happen to be advising us. And our Secretary of State's closest advisor, really, Huma Abadan, is a very deep into the Muslim Brotherhood. So where are we? We are, of course, going to suffer, and they are going to succeed in this existential battle. So that's it.
Tiffany, to pick up on something Dwight said about how the Muslim Brotherhood has made it very clear they want to establish a caliphate. This is not, they've been shouting it from the rooftops. Now, I'm not going to give Jimmy Carter a break when he sided with the Ayatollah over the Shah. But the Ayatollah was not quite as open about what he wanted to do, not quite as open as with the Muslim Brotherhood has written it, they've laid it out, it's all there. So we made this huge mistake, or Carter made the mistake by going with the Ayatollah. What is understanding that that's what the Muslim Brotherhood wants? The military is not perfect, but they're trying to bring some kind of stability and sanity to the country. They need to feed their people. And the other thing that came out today is backroom negotiations between Israel and Egypt. Egypt wants that border with Gaza sealed, which the Brotherhood had let open.
Exactly.
What is Obama? What's the strategy? I'm sorry, he's not stupid. I know a lot of us think he's not. He's very shrewd. What's the thought here?
Oh, absolutely. He's not stupid at all, and that's why it's impossible to believe that his advisors or he himself does not know who the Muslim Brotherhood is. It's well established that the Muslim Brotherhood is the grandfather of all Islamic jihadist groups: Hezbollah, Hamas, Al Qaeda, and so on. But of course the media was portraying them as basically members of Occupy Wall Street, right? Like these are just what did Obama call them? Average Joes, just middle class Joes trying to catch a break or something like that. Wow. And of course the military was there for a purpose. They were to tamp down those very Islamic militants who basically gained power. Now of course the Egyptian people have seen the light and ousted Morsi. But I think this basically indicates what we've been talking about for so long, that the Muslim Brotherhood has actually infiltrated the administration and has leveled its influence on us or administration rather, because you can't explain it any other way.
Well, Morgan, what I was going to, go ahead.
Well, here's the thing I don't understand. We had a semblance of stability in the Middle East before Barack Obama. We really did. Mubarak was controllable. Things weren't great, they weren't perfect, but we had people that we knew we could control or we could figure out a way to deal with. There was a way to deal. Barack Obama has taken it and turned it on its head. He has ousted all these people, gotten rid of all these people. Granted, they weren't the best people, but we knew our enemy. We knew them. We were familiar with them. Now, it's like somebody has stepped on an anthill and scattered things everywhere all over the Middle East. And terrorists are everywhere. There is no plan. I don't know whether this is a concentrated effort on behalf of Obama. He wants this? I don't know.
Well, can I just say, look, he started his political career, and we now know this is a fact, with Bill Ayers, Bernardine Dohrn, and Alice Palmer over his shoulders. Bill Ayers wakes up every morning, he says, wanting to see the destruction of the United States of America. Who starts their political career with that as an ally? So he is very consistent. If you look in the history, Barack Obama's history, Frank Davis, his grandmother and grandfather, the communists, Dr. John Drew, the stories that he told about the Barack Obama he met, who was a revolutionary Marxist, I'm sorry, this is very, very consistent. And I see him purposefully denuding the position and power of the United States with everything he does. But
so, Tiffany, one point. I mean, this is pretty scary because
it is scary.
in a part of the world where they recognize the strong horse. They respect that we are the worse than we're the dead horse. I mean, we're not even the weak horse.
Oh, yeah.
So now Russia comes in. Russia's very well. Syria has a friend in Russia.
Yeah.
Egypt is going to have a friend in Saudi Arabia. China's already making a lot of inroads. We are getting squeezed out. Maybe that was Obama's strategy. Or he's aligning with the Brotherhood. While all this is going on, Iran is speeding things up. Iran is completely off the newspapers, off the charts. What do you see going forward? Because this isn't going to be something we could elect Ted Cruz or anyone for president in 2016. It's not going to change that rapidly. How bad is this damage?
He has absolutely, and one of the things I want to do is show a Middle East map before Obama came into office and a Middle East map now.
Yeah.
He has literally changed the playing field in Libya, Syria, obviously Egypt, and obviously Israel is more threatened than ever. And Iran, of course, all of a sudden, we're not really talking about it. And of course, he purposely did not help the Green Revolution in Iran. Instead, he decided to help the Muslim Brotherhood. That was pretty curious. So everything, when you see this pattern, it was very deliberate. And it was very deliberate to aid actually America's enemies and Israel's enemies. And he has absolutely changed the topography of the Middle East, the political and
that's not going to be changed. That's not going to be easy to change back.
No,
Absolutely
because they'll
not.
go into North Africa. I mean, they're already in North Africa. It's a cancer, and it's just spreading.
Morgan, I wanted to, you mentioned something, or one of the three of you mentioned of the attacks on the churches and the Christians.
Yes, yes.
It's really being ramped up now. I mean,
Oh.
they're fleeing Syria, they're fleeing Egypt.
Right.
How can we wake up the Christian community worldwide to this problem?
Wow.
Maybe there's not an answer to that question.
Well, we have no media coverage, number one, except for, within the Christian media and within a lot of the conservative blogs. But there's no coverage on it. You don't hear anything about it. They're more interested in talking about George Zimmerman than they are about, the Coptic Christians being killed by the hundreds over there. I mean, they're wiping out the Christian population in the Middle East. They really are.
But even Bob Beckel, certainly not a conservative, was railing on the Five or whatever that show was, that talk show, about the plight of the Christian. The Kristen Powers, who's certainly a liberal, wrote in USA Today. I mean, of course, it would help if our leader, so-called,
even
would make us
acknowledged it.
acknowledge
Yeah.
exactly.
No,
I mean,
No.
it's not
No.
even acknowledged, even in like one line of an entire speech. I mean, that's just criminal.
Christianity is his enemy.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then the big push now, of course, with all this turmoil and everything falling apart, John Kerry is basically begging the Israelis to go to the peace table. Every time Israel is pushed to the peace table, another intifada comes. I mean, there will be disaster. Is this their last-ditch effort to try to save face in the Middle East?
He wants his Nobel Peace Prize.
John
Don't
Kerry
you see
does.
it coming,
Yeah.
John Kerry? That's what he wants. It's never going to change anything. If you go back to the days of Sadat, he said, I will sit down and talk peace talks or peace agreement, but there will be no peace. You can't deal with the mentality of these people. They do not want that. It's never going to happen. So he's doomed to begin with,
Well, the question would be either Dwight or Tiffany or maybe both of you, then Netanyahu knows that. All right?
Right.
He's
Yeah.
what's with the release of all these? Is it pressure from the United States? Is he trying to look good in front of the world so he doesn't get criticized? Why is he letting all these murders out? Who are then celebrated in the streets of Palestine.
I think, unfortunately, Israel is becoming increasingly liberal, increasingly secular, and Netanyahu is faced with a lot of the same pressures that we see here in the American Jewish community, which is overwhelmingly liberal. 76% still voted for Obama. It's just absolutely outrageous. But unfortunately, even though they are faced with threats, literally every day, and you think that Israelis would understand it better than anybody, they're actually still succumbing to the same progressive secularism and liberalism, and they're putting the same pressures on Netanyahu. So Netanyahu walks a tight rope, basically, between public opinion and trying to please this faction and that faction. And
will there be a peace agreement or something
No.
in the second term?
No. There's not going to. No, this is wish fulfillment. The wish, desire. These are desires, and it is all liberals believe. Leftists believe in kumbaya. They believe that this lovely paradise is possible.
Just sit down and talk.
Yes, if we just sit down and talk, that's it.
Yeah,
And
right.
I will ignore the fact that you keep saying day after day, I want to kill you and your children and wipe you out, and you are not a human being. You are the born of monkeys and pigs. I'll ignore that.
But other than that,
Right.
other than that,
The
you know.
day NBC shows the Palestinian education for children on their news broadcasts, I will change my mind.
That could turn the debate. I mean, they're naming streets after, and these are, I mean, brutal. I mean, these are not soldiers that had, killed people in combat. These are just brutal terrorists who killed innocent people. They're having parties in the streets. They're naming streets after schools after them. What is the glorification of the suicide bomber, the glorification of a terrorist who kills innocent people?
A culture of death. When people don't value life or the life of their own children, what do you have to leverage with? How do you reason with those people? They don't fear anything. I mean, obviously their upper echelons do, and they kind of talk the talk. They're not willing to strap on a suicide vest themselves. They'll stick it on, some 12-year-old kid.
Well, look at what Hassan said at the Fort Hood trial. I will be a martyr if this is what he wants. This is what they want. And these are ugly things that happen, all this death and everything. But that's that was the right thing to do. Yeah. It's a culture of death.
Morgan, do you think Israel is secure and safe right now? I mean, their military is in that part of the world. There's not a single military that could challenge Israel. Collectively, I mean, does Israel have something to worry about?
Oh,
I mean, terrorism, yes, but I'm talking about the existence of Israel.
No, I think they do. Okay. Yes, I think they do. I think they're walking a very fine line. I think a lot is not known. I think that it's a much bigger problem than is being told to all of us, that maybe even told to the Israeli people, although they pretty much know the drill. But I truly believe that. I think that it's going to take one thing or either Iran going over the line or something happening where Israel will be threatened. And I am very curious to see where the United States will stand at that point.
Well, if it's the next 3 years, Israel's in trouble.
They are on their own.
We'll talk about Hillary in the next segment. That's a whole another
topic.
How
fun.
But there's a couple other things we wanted to get into. I think we're ready for our first break, so we'll be back for the second half. Thank you.
All right.